Well, and a very good evening to you, wherever you may be across the world. My goodness me, it's great to be back. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to You Orns, live on YouTube and live on X. I do hope that you can hear me. I hope you can. Got some new equipment and microphones so for the brand new season. So if you can hear me, that's great. If you can't hear me, I'm sure you'll let me know. It's always great to be with fellow Watford supporters here after a long off season, and we are back at it in 2 days' time, less than 2 days' time now, for that 12:30 in the afternoon kickoff against Charlton Athletic at the Valley. Good to be back with you, and the purpose of doing this on this Thursday, of course, is to talk about what Watford have done in the off season and to give my forecast and predictions for this season for the men's team, the men's first team. Our Hornets, our men are getting out there, and they've made a lot of changes, haven't they? The owner over these last few weeks, and he's been showing real ambition now for all the times that many of us, I tell you, many of us, including myself, have been criticizing the owner for his lack of ambition when it comes to the transfer market. How many times over the last 10 to 15 years that he's been here have we talked about how much of an abject failure the transfer market has been, especially in the summer? We've talked about that ad infinitum, haven't we? Well, I don't think we can really complain too much about what Gino has done in this offseason, because he's pulled a blinder on a lot of us, at least some of us who have been a bit more skeptical about him getting these players that he's got. I think he's made some very wise investments here over the last few weeks, and I wanted to wait deliberately until just before the beginning of this season to start rendering my assessment of what the owner has done here with this men's first team. I think some of the additions they've made have been very quality additions. They've shown real ambition in this market. That they even wanted to get Ashley Young back, for goodness sake. And they did, and they did almost came close to doing that, but the man wanted more money. So I can understand that from Ashley Young. Watford went here, there, and everywhere to try and get players that would complement the nucleus of this side. And I think that the owner, to his credit, while I've had criticisms of him in many areas along the years, although he did do a great job the first few years, but the last few, we know what the track record's been. But I have to say that Gino Pozzo has really made a real commitment to what he wants to do, which is to get this lot promoted, to get them in the big time again. I'm very pleased with what he's done. Hector Cipriano, I think, is a really, really quality signing. That man is going to make a big difference in that midfield area. He's a very versatile midfielder. I'll start with him for that reason. He was one of the more impressive signings that I saw coming out of this off-season for Watford in the summer transfer market. He's a level-headed lad. He brings a lot of calm leadership and discipline. Even though he's a young lad, I think he's wise beyond his years. And I can say that about a few of the other signings too. Mark Bowler, who's going to be playing probably on the left back side. And the left back, I think, has been a very good signing as well. One of the earliest signings that Gino had put in. Obviously, if you want to talk about this as I go through, you're more than welcome to join in and comment on YouTube, where we're live as well. On Instagram, not today, but we are going on X, as you can probably hear. You can write your comments in on X, or you can jump on with me and we can talk about some of this. But I do want to just get, first of all, to a couple of things first before I do take your requests on X. And your comments I will read out. They're coming in already on YouTube. So sit tight with me for the next couple of minutes, and I will bring you forward on X if you can bear with me for 2 minutes here. Now, look, I am very pleased with most of these signings, pretty much all of them. The goalkeeper was a no-brainer. Egil Selvik was a no-brainer. You have to retain him. They did that. Obviously, Daniel Batman out the door, not been made official yet, but the world knows, except for Watford Football Club itself, that Daniel Batman won't kick a ball again for Watford FC. And of course, we already knew, and I told you this last season, that the Great Dane, as it were, and I'm not talking about the new Great Dane, but the Great Dane, as it were, who Tom cleverly said would come back and be part of the Watford plans, has gone. I don't have to mention his name. You know exactly who he is. Look, he did well, scored 11 goals for us, I think, last season. But the bottom line is that I told you back a year ago now almost that he would not kick another football for Watford, and he's gone. Adios. And I'm not talking about Backman on this occasion. I'm talking now about the striker that we had. that many people longed for after the dried up spell of Bio and company. Bio is gone. No need to worry about that for those of you who don't care for Bio. But I think the additions of this club and this men's first team add a lot of pedigree. There's a lot more depth to the squad. How many times have many of us, including yours truly, complained about the lack of depth and the lack of imagination in this squad? And what Gino has done is given some depth to the club, to the men's first team squad, rather, some credibility to this lot. I think there's a great deal of credibility to these players. The only question I have, and again, I'm very pleased with Luka Kiamgor. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Vivaldo Semedo looks like a real good deal. He looks like the real deal. I'm very pleased with all of these folks. Mamadou Doumbia is back, which I love that. Otheni Mama. Mamma mia, mamma mia. Oh, I hope we say that a lot about him this season. He looks like a real deal as well. And Nestori Irakunda out of Australia looks like something really good and a great addition on the wing. And of course, we've got a healthy Quadro Bar back, and soon, hopefully, Georgie and Matty Pollock, hopefully, as well. So look, I've only named just a few of the players that are back or are coming in for the new season, and I'm very optimistic. Very optimistic. I will give you where I think they'll finish a little bit later on here. But the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to you on X and also to the comments on YouTube is the following. I have 3 concerns because one of them I've not mentioned yet, and you can guess who that is. That's the manager, the brand new manager. We all know about what happened just before the offseason began. The brand new manager, of course, is Mr. Paulo Pezzolano from South America, from Argentina, to be precise. That's one of my question marks. How is he going to adjust to life as a manager in the English Championship? He's never traversed this terrain before, so it will be very interesting to see how he fares in that endeavor. That's one question mark. The other question mark I have is the physicality of the squad. Now, look, there are some physical players who put themselves about. You've got the veteran players like the Inces of the world and the Losers of the world. And of course, he was the player of the season last season, the Graham Taylor player of the season. And of course, we have the Sissoko's of the world. They put themselves about. They're physical. They get in there with the best of them. But my only question is, the second question is, how is the rest of the squad dealing with the physicality of the championship? We know Ryan Andrews will compete with, gosh, I'm almost forgetting his name now, Jeremy Ngakia for right back. That's going to be an interesting battle. Of course, Caleb Wiley is back on the left-hand side, on the left wing, on the left back position. I thought that was a very wise re-signing of him for the season. Vatter's back, of course, and all the rest. How physical is this team going to be? I'm not so sure, for all the very good signings that we've had, that the physicality of the squad collectively is going to be strong enough for this championship. Now, listen, I'm not putting any doomsday forecasting in here. I'm just raising a question that I don't think is a terrible one to raise. And then the final thing I will say before I do turn it over to you on X and on YouTube is, how long is this manager going to last? And how long will it take for this squad to adjust to the expectations, to the playing style of Pezzolano, the manager? And how is that going to then be commensurate with the pace and the physicality of the championship? Those are kind of 2 items in one for that final concern. Overall, I really am very excited about what Gino's done. I'll give you my forecast on the season itself and where I think our Golden Boys are going to end up later. But now it's over to you. I'm going to read comments first, and then I'm going to take the very first comments live on X in just a moment. Thank you very much for your patience. Ryan Dabdoob, hello to you, Ryan. Happy brand new season on the way in a couple of days. Good evening, Omar, he says, Ryan, and good evening to you, Ryan. It is evening in America. Is it evening in America or morning? It is afternoon here. It's lunchtime, just in the later part of lunchtime here in the afternoon in the United States of America. If it's the morning for you, Ryan says good morning. And he adds, welcome back, Omar. I can't wait for the new season. I'm as excited as you are, Ryan. This is going to be one heck of an interesting season, an exciting one. And Watford fans, I think, are given real hope this season because the owner has actually gone out and really done something. This might be the best transfer window that he's had since he's been here, for God's sakes, pound for pound, up and down. And he's given us some real fortification in the squad. And so I'm very excited about that, Ryan. Very excited. Charlie Brisbane. Hello to you, Charlie. Good to see you back for the new season, Charlie says. Thank you. Likewise, Charlie. Thank you very much. And Ryan has come back in and says, will the post-match live streams be coming back? The answer to that is yes. I'll be also on YouTube. They will be. And also there'll be an additional one we'll be doing on Substack as well, which is why I encourage you all to subscribe to You ORNS WFC and the number 1 on Substack. That's ORNS WFC and the number 1.substack.com. Please subscribe there as well. We're doing some lives there, but YouTube, yes, we'll be back here as well, Ryan. That and those are the comments that I am reading out for now. Thank you very much. Keep chiming in on YouTube, where you can subscribe and like this video as well. Nelly has been very patient on X. He is going to be the first person that we speak to on X in this season, even though the season doesn't officially start for 2 more days. Neil, or I should say Nelly, happy new season to you. I'm dying to hear what you've got to say. Welcome to this edition of You ORNS, the season preview.
Omar, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Hey, listen, first things first, let's clarify things. I listen to you every Saturday post-game, but I'm normally listening to you when I'm getting in my car and leaving the football ground. So I don't always get the chance to come onto your site and speak to you. But we did get the chance to speak at the end of last season, if you remember.
Very clearly I do, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, listen, you do a great job, mate. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
Love it. Absolutely. If you can still hear me, can you?
Loud and clear, and thank you. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, absolutely love it. Yeah, I've had a really difficult summer. I've had to move out of my house and move my daughter, so I haven't had much chance to contribute to the closing season. But yeah, I'm back again and ready to say my words if you're willing to listen.
I am. We all are. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm a little bit apprehensive about the new manager. That we'll get back to in a minute. I have been very vocal today and very forthcoming in opinions on Twitter regarding Daniel Backman, because we all know the boy needs to move on. We all know the boy needs to find himself something different, regenerate himself and get himself back into the national squad. My parents met him once on holiday in Austria. They thought he was a lovely, charming lad, and I met him on 3 occasions at both Vicarage Road and in Watford town centre itself, and I thought he was a lovely chap. But he's going. It wasn't his fault that he was given a long contract, and I was very upset that certain people were they went a bit OTT on the boy because of his contract, the length of his contract. It hasn't worked out for him at Watford, so just let the boy go. Let him go. Let him reinvigorate, regenerate his career, and let him find himself something that's away from Vicarage Road. I don't think he dishonours us at all, and I think that he did himself proud in a season where we got promoted. Any comments on that?
Well, thanks of all, Nelly, for your comments and on Daniel Backman. I do think that, listen, he's been at times been a real lifesaver for Watford. You can't deny that. Certainly has given us a number of valuable points alone with his performances singularly in a number of critical games. The one thing I would say about Daniel Backman, he is a class act. I definitely agree with you on that. You have the pleasure to have met him, and he's on several occasions. He's a genuinely decent person. I've said that a lot about him. I think the only issue is that at some points he has shown a lack of leadership in situations where he got sent off. Those were issues. I think some of the Watford fan base, yeah, I can understand about the contract. It's not his fault. That's more about the owner and all the rest of it, which I don't want to relitigate here. But the one thing I will say, Nelly, is that there were times during the time that Daniel was here where many of us, and I will include myself in this, criticized him about his goalkeeping. I have done that, and I do think he needs to improve there. I do agree with you that he needs to probably move. He needs to move along somewhere else to regenerate his career. He's had some injury issues. You can't forget that, of course, and you didn't mention it, but I'm sure that you know very clearly, as everyone else listening and watching does, that he has had a number of issues of injury over the last few seasons, including, of course, last season, where he didn't kick a ball again, to the best of my memory, after that Sheffield United game back in early January or late December. But the thing I really want to underline here is that many of the Watford fans who have been vocal about this have wanted to see better goalkeeping from him. And I am in that camp. What I am not in the camp of is people attacking him personally, or any Watford player or anyone personally, because there were some people in the fan base who were attacking him personally. And attacking his family and saying all this nasty stuff about him personally, which to me does not belong anywhere on these things. And we know that social media can be a real gutter fest. But bottom line is that you can criticize the man's goalkeeping all day long, like I have in various points of the seasons. But to attack him personally, there's no room for that here. And I definitely disclaim that. But your points are well taken, Nelly. I do agree with you that he needs to move along. I do agree with you that he's a really nice, decent stand-up person. And I do think that he will thrive somewhere else. But Nelly, if you had anything else you wanted to say, the floor is yours, and then I'll move on to read out a couple of comments as well and give some more thoughts about Watford this season with the goalkeeping. Go ahead.
Yeah. All I was going to say is that moving away from Daniel Bachmann,
yeah,
he was probably in the same regime as Joe Hart, and Joe Hart's demise from Manchester City, because he wasn't comfortable playing out from the back. And I never think, right from day one, Daniel Bachmann was never happy playing out from the back. It's a modern trend within the game. So therefore, all goalkeepers now are expected to play out from the back. And that's when I was coaching under 14s 5 years ago in the Halifax League. That's what we were doing. Now, regarding this season, I'm going to broach once again on the Tom Cleverley situation, which I have done on Twitter.
Yes.
I had a lot of time for Tom. And I like Tom. I met Tom. I've spoken to Tom on 2 or 3 occasions, as with many managers that my 60 years supporting this club I've spoken to. But I want to say this, and this came up from the chanting at one of the pre-season friendlies the other day about Tom Cleverley. All I'm appealing to Watford supporters is we have to move on, and we have to move on, and we have to get behind a push for promotion that includes ownership and management. So let's close the door on last season. If we want new ownership from the club, it's probably only going to come in a Premiership season. They won't sell it as a Championship club. So let's now move forward and back the club. If people are worried or concerned about recent developments, like recent changes or constant changes of management, etc., just step back a couple of years and think about what the club is. Elton John, Graham Taylor, Watford.
Nelly, thank you very much indeed for the comments. Really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and happy to be able to speak to you. Take
And
care.
likewise, take care now. Cheers. That was Nelly with some real insight into the situation at Watford Football Club, and I agree with Nelly. We have to move forward. I'm not someone that says don't analyze the past, because you have to, but this is the new season now. You've got to get behind this man. I'm quite frankly very indifferent about Pesolano. I know he's never had any English football experience, but then again, nor did Serena Wiegmann in the women's game. And look what happened with her. Look what she's done with the England national team. I know it's a very different comparison, and you never know. You never know. But I do think now we're just 2 days away from the start of the season, as Nelly points out. I think it's time now, if there are still Watford fans doing this, to move on. I wanted Tom Cleverley here in the worst way. I was one of many Watford fans who really did not like the decision that the owner made on him back in May of the last season, or this year. Gosh, May. Yeah, 2025 is a strange year as it is. That it was this calendar year when he was jettisoned out of the club. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But Tom Cleverley's not coming back. He's now managing at Plymouth or something now. So the bottom line is, your manager now is Paolo Pezzolano, and you just hope and pray that they keep him here long enough, and you hope and pray that he does a good job. I think that's all there is to it now. Let's see what happens with the system. I saw one of the preseason games, the one against Leyton Orient a few weeks ago, and Watford still looked like they needed a lot more work in them. Obviously, Leyton Orient looked like the real deal. They were getting close to the start of their season, so fine, they had an extra week or so to prepare or whatever. They've had more preseason, but let's see what Pesolano does. Again, that's my only note about him. As I said earlier, that this is his first rodeo in English football, and we'll see how quickly the lads adopt the playing style that he wants. And as I said, as the other concern that I had, we will see how that comes together in the scheme and the larger framework of a championship in England that is always rough and tumble. You've got teams that are going to be ready out the gate. You can best believe that Sheffield United are going to be ready. They are going to be odds-on favorites to get into the Premier League after what happened in that championship final. And I watched every second of that championship final when Sheffield United thought that they were heading to Wembley. And no, they were not. And they'll never forget that. And I'm telling you, they're going to take that out on the championship. I think Sheffield United, by the way, are going to win the championship this season coming up. So that's my one prediction immediately. Leicester will be in the mix. Southampton will be in the mix. You've got to look at those three teams. I look at Millwall as a difficult customer to deal with. We played Millwall to start last season. It's so interesting the way that he started these last two seasons. The first opponent on the board was a club from South London. You have that in the case of Millwall last season, and we have that again in the case of Charlton Athletic, a newly promoted Charlton Athletic at the Valley, where Watford have had some ups and downs there over the years. They've fared fairly well over the years, I think, at the Valley. But the bottom line is that those are my only concerns, as I outlined earlier. Goalkeeping wise, yes, Backman needs to fortify elsewhere. I'm pleased with the goalkeeping selection we have. I think Nathan Baxter's a really good backup addition. Alfie Marriott, yeah, I think he's great too. And the guy Miles, who forget his last name, whether it's Miles Taylor or whatever his last name is, he went off to Wrexham, I think, for the season-long loan. I would love to see what he can do in a Watford shirt as a goalkeeper as well, but we've not had the chance to see him because he's not been given that chance. Now, we will see how this all shakes out. Selvik, no one here now can complain about Selvik being your number one goalkeeper. He showed that last season. He was outstanding, kept a number of clean sheets at times. His goalkeeping awareness is a whole lot stronger. He commands his box very well. He can play out at the back. He's very good with the ball to feet. Sometimes he gets you. He plays a little bit close to the bone, but you never have any concern about him playing it out from the back. He is usually very, very good with that. He made maybe 4 mistakes the entire time he was playing as the number one for us last season. And if you're a goalkeeper and you only make 4 mistakes or 4 errors or whatever you want to call it during the course of the 30 or so games he played for us in the back of the net, you're not doing too much wrong. You're not doing too much wrong there. So Egil Solvik is a real good stabilizer for us. And let me just go through the rest of the squad before I do give my final prediction, because we'll go on for another 10 or 15 minutes. And by the way, if you do want to make any comments, you're more than welcome to write them in on X or on YouTube. And of course, you're more than welcome to follow the lead of Nelly and hit the microphone request, and we'll bring you in there on X as well. It's always a delight to see fellow Watford supporters before, during, and after the season. And on this special edition of the You Orns, it's the You Orns season preview. I want to thank you so far, and thank you very much indeed for joining me here on this Thursday night, as we approach the 10:15 time coming up in the next few minutes here in the UK, pardon me, here in the sunny climes of California. It's very nice and sunny out here, my goodness. And there may be some background noise construction that you can hear. But it is nice and sunny here. A bit windy here just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as the lunch hour is coming pretty much to a close here. But the bottom line is, it's great to see you, great to hear you, great to have you all back. Look forward to doing this the entire season. And I want to take a time before I do go through the rest of the squad, give my brief assessments of what the manager and what the owner have done. I do want to remind you, please subscribe to the You Orns WFC YouTube channel. That's You Orns WFC YouTube. You can tell I've been away from this for a while. YouTube.com/@ You Orns WFC on YouTube. Please do that. It would be greatly appreciated. Of course, on X @You Orns WFC as well. Also on Instagram @You Orns WFC, but not on Instagram Live tonight. And on Substack as well. That's the new place as well, where I'll be doing a number of videos post-match, as well as on YouTube. And on Substack, if you have Substack, please get on to Substack. Really good place to be, because I'll be doing a lot of my writing on Substack, because I'll be doing a lot of writing for this new season on the squad, on the team, on the club, on the owner, on the manager, on the lot, the fans as well, as we go through here. And you can subscribe on Substack at the following place. It will be You Orns WFC and then the number 1.substack.com. Please do that now. Be greatly appreciative of your subscription there, and you will see me writing a lot more on there as the season gets underway. I've got one story up there already about the kit, and that's the home kit. Hint, spoiler alert, I'm not a fan of the new home kit. I promised that I would not purchase anything Watford related this season in terms of the kits or anything like that. But I might renege on that based on what we've seen in the transfer market. Oh my God. Oh dear. I mean, I might just renege on that and change my mind, because blimey, this transfer market has been very pleasing. I have not seen any Watford supporter really say that this was not a good transfer market, this good transfer window for us. I think it's been an outstanding one. Kevin is back with us. I'm so pleased about that. Matty Pollock, hopefully he will not be out for very long with the injury that he had in that preseason game. I think it was against Deportivo La Coruña, which Watford won 1-0. Hope that he can get back for us soon. Mark Bowler I've talked about, and he is not Mark Bolan of T-Rex, who is no longer with us, but he is not banging a gong and getting it on, but he will be getting it on the pitch, because from what I've seen from Mark Bowler, he looks very, very good. Looks like the genuine article. James Morris is still here on the club. I was a little bit surprised by that, because I thought that James Morris was probably going to be shown the door, but he's going to be a backup again in the full-back position on the left-hand side of the left back. I think that there's enough depth here, and I'm very encouraged by that. For all the times that we all talked about how thin the squad was, I think the owner, his ears must have been burning, because he has absolutely responded and then some with these choices and with these signings and with the people he's let go and the people he's kept. James Abankwah gets that season-long loan again from Udinese. That was a welcome return for him. One thing I'll say about Mr. Abankwah is that he will have learned from his experience in the championship previously. He will understand about being too aggressive and the danger of that. and he will, because he got sent off, remember, in that game against Oxford that we lost, what was it, 1-0 or 2-0 last season. I'm sure that he will be wiser for the experience, and he is. And I'm excited about him. I'm excited about Caleb Wiley, what he also can do in the second season with Watford. He was very good with us. I thought Caleb Wiley from the United States, Mr. Wiley is from. He came in in January of this year, and he acquitted himself very well for the few months that he was here on that in the left back position. Very pleased with him. I think he can add a lot to this squad, a lot more depth and know-how, and he's very wise and very adept at what he does. I didn't remember him making a blooming mistake once last season. Maybe one. I mean, Caleb Wiley is high caliber, high quality. He's going to bring you some real credibility in that left back position. I think over the years, Watford have toiled and tussled with that left back position. And I think they found the right fit here with Caleb Wiley, who will be competing, of course, with one or two others. I think Mark Bowler will be one of his main competitors there on that left side as well. Ryan Andrews on the right-hand side will be the competitor with not James Banquet, pardon me, will be the competitor with Jeremy Ngakia. And I'm pleasantly surprised that they kept Ngakia. I didn't think he was going to be kept. I thought last season was his make or break. He performed well when he was healthy. The knock on Ngakia is that he cannot stay healthy, and I do hope that he has a season now where he can finally be healthy for the entire season. But I thought he acquitted himself very well last season, and just injuries just kept him out. So there will be a real interesting competition between he and Ryan Andrews, who I thought did not have a very good season last season. I thought Ryan Andrews was a bit off the pace as far as I'm concerned. I do hope that he'll be motivated for this season to be a whole lot better. I think if you ask Ryan Andrews in private what he thought of his campaign last season, he probably would agree that it was underwhelming at times. And I do hope, and I'm rooting for Ryan Andrews to regain some of that great bravado and spirit and great endeavor that he had the season before last. So I'm excited to see what that can mean for Ryan Andrews, one of our own, of course. As far as the other players, we go to the midfield, and with Cipriano, I've told you, I think he's very, very good. I think he's the kind of player, youngster, who can really calm things down on that defensive midfield level. I think he can go forward. I'd like to see Pezzolano make him move forward, not just be defensive. I mean, he's got multi-dimensional talents in that defensive midfield realm, does Hector Cipriano, but I would love to see him play all over the park. I think he can do that. I think he can be an attacking midfielder. I think he can. And I would like to see Pezzolano do that. Now, of course, we've not seen this lot play in the championship officially yet, because that won't happen until Saturday afternoon. But what I would love to see Pezzolano do is make Hector Cipriano a more free-ranging midfielder, which would take him out of a defensive holding position naturally. But I think make him more versatile, because I think he's a very versatile player. And I think you can use him as an attacking option, and especially if Georgie is not fully back from that injury yet, why not play about with that a bit? You've got a lot of midfield fortification. You've got Tom Ince in there. I know he plays more on the wing side of things, but I think you can make Ince a more versatile player, and he has been such. And an older, wiser player like Ince can be a very valuable asset. I know there's some Watford fans that perhaps don't take a shine to Ince because of all those years he was with Blackpool and Derby and all the other million clubs he was with. And he didn't, I think Hull City at one point, I think, all the rest of these clubs. And so there are some Watford fans that aren't endeared to Tom Ince necessarily. But I think he acquitted himself well, and shows you he's got some quality, and it shows you that he's got some know-how and nous. He's got a lot of nous, Tom Ince. He's an older, wiser head. I think you can benefit from keeping him around, and I'm glad that they've done that with Ince. It's not a waste at all to have him back, and certainly Musa Sissoko, who's shown you, despite not having the best of seasons last season, that he can score you some important goals. I think he scored 5 or 6 goals last season for us. He can play on the wing. He can play in the middle of the park. He works hard. He works very hard for this team. He's very industrious. Again, as a veteran footballer, listen, I think you can't go wrong with having that kind of experience on your side. You have to have a mix and a balance of younger players and more veteran players. You have to have that. If you want promotion, if you want playoffs, You can't do it with a bunch of old heads completely, and you can't do it with a bunch of kids. Although remember that famous phrase that was spoken by, I think, Alan Hansen of Manchester United, talking about Liverpool player, former Liverpool player, talking about Manchester United. You don't win things with kids, and didn't Fergie prove him wrong back in the early 1990s with Paul Scholes and all the rest? But the bottom line is, generally speaking, you don't win things with kids, not solely, unless you're talking about the academy and under 18s. In terms of the championship, you have to have, especially if you're going for the gusto like we are this season, thanks to the owner doing what he's done with the signings, you have to have a mix of youth and experience. That's how it gets done. And Watford have done that. The owner's done that with these signings. He's got veterans like Musa Sissoko and Imran Louza. He's got veterans like now you got to call him a veteran, Ido Kayembe. I got to call Tom Deli Bashiru a veteran for God's sake now. I mean, I really do. And he needs to improve. I hope he does. I look forward to seeing what TDB can do for us all on the pitch, do for himself, most importantly, and the team when he gets back on the pitch. He had a tough season last season, had some good moments and then not so good moments. And then injury came along like it does for all of these players. It's a contact sport, so there's going to be injuries. Hate to break it to anybody who's never encountered an injury in sports, and I have, and it's not pretty when you have to be out for 6 weeks. TDB was out for that long and then some last season with injuries, but look, he's still a valuable player for Watford. I think there's still a lot more we can get from him and a lot more he can prove to himself. I think he's a tremendous player, and look, he offers a lot. He offers leadership. He offers a lot of wisdom, and I think he's a steady hand back there. I would like to see him be a bit more dynamic at times, put his stamp on the game a bit more, and limit some of the mistakes that he made last season. Look, we're all going to make mistakes in life, but this season now, we cannot afford to make the kinds of mistakes that sank us in seasons past. We just cannot abide by that. No more last-minute concessions of goals. I mean, look, there's going to be a time where that happens this season. It happens to everybody, for goodness sakes. But we cannot afford. I think it happened to Sunderland last season. And look where they are now. They're in the Premier League, for goodness sakes. But we cannot afford. We've got to cut out a lot of those mistakes that we made last season. And so I've gone through this team, except for the forwards now. And we have, I think, I have to say, an embarrassment of riches. And I hope no one's laughing at that from a Watford perspective, because these players are very good. Kieran Gore, or Kiam Gore, however you pronounce his name, the new Great Dane, as it were, showing you, I think he's got some physicality and aerial ability. The only thing, again, as I say, is how physical can he be in this championship? It's one thing to see you in preseason where you're playing against the AFC Wimbledon or you're playing against the Leyton Orient. No disrespect to any of them clubs. But it's quite another when you're up against the physicality of a Sheffield United, or you're up against a very physical Millwall side, because they're going to definitely be physical this season. It's quite another when you're dealing with that. So we'll see how Luca does. I'll call him Luca. I think that's probably the best, because that is his first name. Happens to be his first name. Rocco looks great. I'm liking what I saw from him last season. I know he was injured and he had an illness that kept him out for a while, but he looks like he's raring to go. Vivaldo Semedo, that is the one I'm excited about the most in this striking lineup. I cannot wait to see what he does. He looks like a genuine article, and I really would love to see what he does in the championship. I'm very pleased that Doumbia is back, as I said a bit earlier. Mamadou Doumbia, who is fearless. He brings that kind of fearlessness to us and our front line. He did score, I think, 1 or 2 goals last season, and he always works for you. He always works for you. He's not afraid to put himself about, which I'm very excited about. Quadro Bar, welcome back. Very excited about what he can bring again after being out for a couple of months, I think it was, with the hamstring, or a few weeks with the hamstring, and he came back. And now in this offseason, he worked really hard to come back to be 100% or close to it. He got there in the training camp before any other Watford player. That could serve us very well this time in May of next year, when we're talking possibly about something really good, but we will see. And of course, Othmani, Mama Mia, I think that he can bring you something very dynamic as well. on the wing. I'm very excited about Mr. Irakunda, as I said earlier, from Australia. He's got pace to burn on the wing. He can play anywhere along that front line, that forward line. And I'm very excited about what he can do. So Watford are locked and loaded, if you will, for this brand new season. And that brings me now, as we get to the final few minutes of this YOU ORNS season preview, to my assessment of where I think this team is going to be. I have said this a lot during the years, that you don't make predictions based on how during in season, based on how the season's going. You make all your predictions before the season starts. Now, I understand the transfer market will be open until what? The 1st of September or whenever it is. So there's still a possibility that Watford may still add players. But the bulk of what they've done has been done in this summer transfer market before the season begins. There are always going to be people who say, well, maybe they signed too many players. And I can understand that concern. If there is that concern out there, they're saying that about Liverpool, for God's sakes, who never sign 1 million players in an off window. And look what they've done now. I'm not comparing us to Liverpool. I'm just saying, from the standpoint of a football club doing business in England, that's not their model to do. They don't normally get 10 players or 8 players like they've done, Liverpool. And Watford, as we know, don't normally go out and get 8 to 10 players like we've done. We don't do that in off seasons. We've been starving for it. But it's the right kind of 8 to 10 players that is always very important when you're making these transfers and these signings and these additions and these subtractions and all the rest. I think the subtractions are wise, the ones they've done. Everybody knows that Daniel Backman is not going to play another game for Watford. So I think it's all over but the shouting as far as that goes. It's all over but the announcement. And I'm sure at some point we will say sayonara or adios or auf Wiedersehen to Mr. Backman and wish him well, because I will wish him well wherever he happens to go from here. He's a good guy. It just didn't work out for him, as Nelly mentioned earlier, when he was here. He did do some good things at times, but of course, as I've said before, not to re-litigate this again, Daniel Backman, needs to improve in some areas on the pitch, and I'm sure he will when he gets that chance elsewhere. I am going to say, based on everything, with the signings, with the balance of the squad, the depth of the squad, and also the retention of very important players, bringing back very important players like Mr. Abankwah, like Mr. Wiley. I think Watford are going to make the playoffs this season. Now, that is my prediction. I'm not going to say where in the top 6 it's going to be. No, why didn't I say 5th? Dear, I violated my own protocol. But I think they will make the playoffs. It's going to be a tough slog, and there's going to be some setbacks, like there always are in a season. But I think what Watford have got here are a very dynamic, competent, and deep squad. And they're probably going to make further changes before September rolls around, or by the time the window shuts. And I guarantee you in January, they'll probably make 1 or 2 tweaks here and there. But for my money, what I've got here now, looking at this squad, is a very fearless group of players. Most of them younger, some of them with a point to prove, and also players who, many of whom have been here during a previous season. The Wileys of the world, the Abankwahs of the world, they've all been here, and others. Mamadou Doumbia knows what the championship's about. And look, there is some experience, and you've got veteran leadership in Loser, who I think is going to have another very solid campaign. And then you've got the likes of Sissoko, who has been in the championship, been in the Premier League, and has done both of those things with us at Watford. I do remember Sissoko playing in the Premier League with us. I think he did. Yes, he did. He absolutely did. Back in 2021-22. But I am excited about what we've got. I am realistic about what we've got as well. And I will never discount the possibility that we might finish outside the playoffs. But this is a statement of intent from the owner. Whether you like the owner, whether you don't like the owner, whether you like what he's doing, whether you don't like what he's doing, you cannot fault the owner here for what he's tried to do in this transfer window. I've been a critic of this owner for various reasons at times, but I've always given the owner credit when he gets things right. And I think he's got this right. With the budget that we have, and it's not a lot, with the situation that we have, and we know what that is economically, that can be very tricky at times. But we've got a lot of money from a sale of Mr. João Pedro because he was a sell-on to Chelsea. And the man, and I'm talking about Gino here, has invested wisely in this summer transfer market. He has. And I will debate that with anyone who disagrees of a Watford persuasion. As a Watford supporter, lifelong supporter of this club, this is one of the more ambitious transfer windows we have seen in many a year, certainly under this owner. And while I am on the bandwagon that says the owner should find something new, as Nelly said, and he's no longer in the building at the moment, he's not selling the club this season. And a sale will only be effected, or effectuated, I should say, in a Premier League campaign. Because that is going to be a valuable asset if we get there. And I think we will make the playoffs. I didn't say whether we'd get promoted or not. You noticed that. But I did say that we will make the playoffs. So keep that in mind. I am optimistic. I am also very realistic. And I am also somebody who, again, is going to be optimistic, but based upon what I'm looking at, I've got every reason to be. Again, this window that we are seeing now is one of the better Watford transfer windows we've had in a long time. This might be the best one that this owner, on paper, has put forth. On paper. There have been transfer markets where this owner's been very busy, but has ended up getting a whole lot of nothing. In that Premier League season, we had Josh King. Remember that from several years ago? Josh King. We got this one, we got that one, we got the other. And it really didn't pan out, did it? In that Premier League season, when we got promoted in 2015, we got a number of players, a lot of players, and it did pan out well. What was it, a 13th place finish under Kike? You remember that? When we got Alan Neom, and some of us didn't like him. And we got not Valerian Ismail. We got the guy that's now here as a scout for Watford. You know who I'm talking about. I always forget his name, the midfielder for us. From Sweden, the Swiss man, from Switzerland, pardon me. Gosh, why do I not remember his name all of a sudden? Somebody will tell me what his name is, who is now back at the club in a front office capacity type thing, a liaison, if it were. God, why didn't I remember his name? He's silver-haired lad from Switzerland. But anyway, who got sent off against Swansea, by the way, in that Premier League season where we beat Swansea 1-0. That season where we got a load of players, Gerardo, who turned out to be an absolute nightmare for us. We got Miguel Ayun from Mexico, who was terrific for us, scored the first Premier League goal for us back in the Premier League against Everton, if you remember that from several years back in 2000. That was 10 years ago now. My memory still works. I'm shocked. My memory can be very good and it can be very, very bad indeed. But you remember that game against Everton in 2015 when we drew 2-2. We had a 2-1 lead against them. Igalo put us in front. Then I think, had a late concession of a goal or something like that in a 2-2 game where we had a load of players. We had all these players that we got. And that turned out to be very good for us. I have a belief that this transfer market may yield us similar fruit, if you will, as far as different league, of course, but I think that this could be a very good season for us. It could be. I'm not saying whether we're going to get promoted, but I am saying that we will get to the playoffs. That's what I'll say. That is what I will say. Now, from there, anything goes. But I do say on this 7th of August, and you can write this down, clip it, whatever you want to do, throw it in the waste paper basket, whatever you want to do. I predict that Watford will make the playoffs this season. That's what I predict. 6 teams, Watford will be one of the 6 teams in that top 6, or in that 4 from positions 3 through 6. How about that? That is my look. And that is where we end it, unless you would like to chime in with your thoughts about the season, your predictions about the season. you're more than welcome to, over the next few minutes, hit that request button on X, and we'll all get to listen to your assessment of Watford, the transfer window that Watford have put forth, that the owner has put forth, and the manager. Your assessments of Pezzolano. Mine is, I just don't know too much about him beyond the fact that he's not been in the English football game at all. But he's been in 2 or 3 English football friendlies. So if that's anything to go by, the one against AFC Wimbledon, the one against Leyton Orient, and the one against Deportivo La Coruña, although that's not an English side, that's a Spanish side. That's it. The first game at the Vic was that one just a few days ago. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how things go, right, with the manager. It is time to get behind the manager, though. I'm with Nelly on this. They'll get behind the manager. I'll take David's request in about 10 seconds. But we got to get behind the manager now. It's a new season. Yes, we'll have complaints about the owner for a variety of reasons. But one thing you cannot complain about with this owner now, many of us wanted a better transfer market for Watford, a better window, and he's done it. I think he's been very good with this window. With the investments have been very wise. The decisions he's made and not made have been very wise. Hey, that's my 2 cents. Now it's over to you, David, on X. And Ryan, I promise I'll read your comments on YouTube. Thanks for being so patient. We cannot do a Watford fan phone on YouTube, but there's probably a way I can maybe integrate that somehow, but I don't think we can do a fan phone on YouTube. I'm going to work on that, Ryan. And that's why Substack is a very important place to subscribe to, because there are things you can do on Substack to actually be brought into the conversation on video, which is why if you subscribe to YOU ORNS, WFC, and the number 1.substack.com, there'll be ways I can get you in on video there when we do that. So Ryan, hold tight. David, thank you for your patience. David, it's over to you on X. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome to the YOU ORNS season preview. Your assessments of this window and more. David, over to you. Hello to you, David.
Hi, Omar. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. I've sort of agree with what I've briefly just heard from yourself there. I think I share the same optimism in terms of what we've managed to do. Obviously, we have no idea about quite a lot of our players, of course. But yeah, I think it's a lot more promising than it's been in recent years. So a lot is probably going to come down in terms of how well the players settle. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I just don't know to what extent we can kick on from last season.
Yeah, David, and before you came into the room, I had mentioned some of what you said in terms of the unknown quantities and some of the things, the questions I raised about the physicality of the squad overall. There are some physical players in the squad, but the physicality as a team, as a squad, when you're dealing with the English Championship, and also about the manager being an unknown quantity. And you just touched on that as well. One of the things that, and I'll have you respond and give some further thoughts about any of this, or just thoughts that you had that you have yet to express, is the owner has done a blooming good job here. I am a strong believer in praising when praise is due and being critical when it's due as well. And it doesn't matter whether I'm a fan of the owner or not. And for the most part, over the last few seasons, I've not been. But you can't begrudge the owner here. He has done a fantastic job, and I will say that every day of the week. Now, as you said, David, it remains to be seen how it all pans out for our Golden Boys this season. But you cannot slag the owner off on the moves he's made here. How many times, David, and you know this well, and I'm speaking to everybody, not only David here, how many times have we sat here in these summer transfer markets and said, what the hell is that? What's Gino up to? He ain't got a defender. He ain't brought this person, and he ain't brought a left back, and he ain't brought in a striker. He ain't done nothing in midfield. Where's the goalkeeper? We need a backup. How many times have we said that over the years? Millions of times. We can't say that now. The man's gone out there. He's brought in at least 10 players. He was showing you he wanted to get Ashley Young, for God's sake. The man's going for it with the little resources he's got. Excuse my rant here, David. Not rant directed at you, but just generally. David, over to you.
Yeah, exactly that. I think obviously we don't know how some of the players are going to perform, but in terms of how to approach a transfer window, this is a textbook way to dealing with it, and basically a complete opposite of how we've dealt with it in the past. I mean, we've got all our business sorted nice and early. We've brought back the players that we wanted from last season, like a Banker and Wiley. We filled the positions that we needed. It's complete contrast to what we're sort of used to in recent times anyway. So, yeah, there's no faults from me. I really don't think they can do a lot more. Possibly a right back, obviously, would be ideal. I just can't see anywhere else that they haven't given it a real good go. And by the sounds of it, they're trying to bring in a couple more as well. So, absolutely faultless, shocking turnaround on paper. But yeah, it's paper only, of course, so we'll just have to see. I do think if you look at last season as well, keeping Bar, Chapatadze and Loser, that in itself is worth more than probably multiple signings alone. I think that would be a huge victory for the Pozzos if they can keep hold of all three. And I think if we can keep the likes of Bar and Chapatadze fit, we saw enough last season with a pretty patchy squad that they took us very far. And that's what we were crying out for, obviously, a little bit more support for them in January. So if we can keep our best players as well, then it's hard not to be excited about what could be around the corner. But yeah, it's obviously all to play for without a ball being kicked yet.
Absolutely, David. I appreciate what you said, and I got to say, I'm very excited about these moves. And this owner now has given the average Watford fan something to hold on to this season. You know, that's the thing you take away as well, is that he has given the fan base, even the dissenting portion of the fan base, and I've been in that portion from time to time with the owner. He's given everybody at Watford now something to hold on to here, something to give some hope for, as you've alluded to, something to sink your teeth into and get into the season and have some interest and some relish with what's to come in a couple of days' time. Now, watch us, we could go out there and lose to Charlton on Saturday, and you'll have half the fan base saying, "Oh, this is terrible." You know, we are fickle a lot, aren't we, as football fans? But I will say that even if they, God forbid, were to lose on Saturday, again, it's one game, it's a new manager, and it's a squad with a number of players who've never played championship football before, and still trying to get adjusted to the system. David, anything else you want to say before I turn this over to some final comments, or anyone else who would like to jump in as well? David, over to you.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned the head coach, and yeah, we can obviously put together a great squad, and obviously we're hopeful that certain players are going to maybe improve from last season, but it'll just be interesting to see what the head coach does do with this team, because yeah, he can have as good a players as he likes, but yeah, ultimately it's a key part of our season. We have no idea. We have obviously short snippets of what he wants, but really it's a big job for him as well. So yeah, hopefully we can get off to a good start, and obviously build from there. But yeah, firmly obviously got to judge the manager, and perhaps quicker than we ideally would like, because obviously we know how this club works. So
Right.
I'm interested to see how we set up from the start, because obviously we want to get off to a good start like we did last year. So yeah, I'm just interested to see how we look under his management.
Absolutely. David, I want to thank you very much indeed for your contribution as ever, and I look forward to hearing from you again during the course of the season. I made a prediction, by the way, and you might want to chime in on this as well, that they will make the playoffs. Where do you think Watford at this time? I know it's all on paper, but where do you think they'll finish? Where do you think they might be?
I hate making predictions like this. Yeah, I can't commit to that. I'm afraid, Omar. I just don't want to jinx us or anything like that. I think, you know what? I'll say an improvement on last year.
That's a good answer, and I appreciate the answer. David, thank you very much indeed. Well done, and take care. We'll be talking again, I'm sure, during the course of the season. Thank you very much, David, and cheers. Take care. Thank you. Take care. That was David there, and I think that was very diplomatic as well, David, of you not to commit. And understand that. I understand that there's levels of superstitions that fans have. I'm not saying that you're necessarily a superstitious fan, but they're all superstitions, and football and sport in general can be a very breed a very kind of superstitious response, I think, in a number of us. I don't know if that is you, David, but definitely I understand the not wanting to jinx part of that. I predicted this lot would finish 8th before the start of last season. They finished, what, 13th or 12th or whatever it was, or 14th. So I was wrong there. For a while, I was very much going to be correct, because they spent, as you remember, as everybody watching and listening remembers, they spent the better part of 3 months in the top 7 or 8 in the championship. In the last year, I think it was around November, and they were still in the top 7 or 8. And I thought that they were going to go on and do that, but it was really what happened to us was what happened in that Christmas period where we really started to fall down. And my only other question is, before I wrap it up here, and thank you very much, everybody, for joining and watching. If you're watching and joining in real time live, or if you do watch this or join or listen later on, I want to thank you for doing that. Before I do make my final comment, I do want to say, please subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel, which you can find at You ORNS WFC on Twitter, on YouTube. It's all these platforms. Oh my God. Of course, on X as well, at You ORNS WFC, and on Substack as well, with the following page to go to, which should be You ORNS WFC, the number 1.substack.com. Please subscribe there as well, because there'll be a lot of live video on there as well, and of course a lot of written pieces that I will be doing during the rest of the entire campaign. I'll be doing a lot more writing this season. So let's get to the final comment. And one other thing you'll find, I did a story on the kit, the home kit that we have this season, which I am not a fan of. But if you buy a home kit, that's up to you. Bless your heart. And because I'm wearing, and I know people on X can't see this, but I'm wearing the pink goalkeeper shirt from last season, which I don't think was worn but once in the entirety of the season. But anyway, that was last season. Let's move on, shall we? But the final comment I want to make, and fellow Watford supporters, thank you very much for your time and your endeavor. I know it's late in the United Kingdom or wherever you may be across the world. Thank you very much for listening live, for watching live, for your comments. I was asked about Caleb Wiley. Caleb Wiley, as far as I know, Ryan, is from the Midwest. For those of you on YouTube, thank you, Ryan, for sticking around. He says also, did you know season tickets went up by 5%? Now my season ticket is £165. Ryan, yeah, I know it's a situation that happens. I'm sorry you have to pay more. As you know, and I talked about this with you last season, Ryan, remember the owner had season ticket prices for at least a couple of seasons. And I think in one instance, actually lowered them. So I'm not trying to have a dig at you, Ryan, at all. I can completely understand. It's a rough situation. Business is business, and you know inevitably that they are going to raise those season ticket prices. But yeah, it can be pricey, with things as they are, economy and all the rest of it. It can be pricey for the average Watford fan, and it is, And if you're a family of 4, and you're spending a lot of money on these games, and you're traveling and you're doing all the rest of it, the kit, the away kit, I'm sure there'll be a third kit coming at some point, and all the rest of it, the training range and all that. They got the jackets, and you're spending thousands of pounds at some point if you're talking about a family of 4 with all of that in mind. So Ryan, I completely understand. I empathize with you about the increase in the ticket price. And yeah, as we know, and as you know, Ryan, that is the cost of doing business, isn't it? As fans are going to, after a couple of seasons with no ticket rise and a freeze in your price, inevitably the ownership is going to do that. And I can completely understand, frankly, that Gino does that in that situation. But I hear you 110%, Ryan. Thank you for your comments. And I said Caleb Wiley is from, I think, from the Midwest here in the United States. Musa, has he got another year left on his contract? I think he was signed for 2 years. And I think that this is the second of those 2 years, or he may have renewed his contract for one more season or 2 more seasons. I'm not 100% sure, Ryan. So I'll need to go and do my research on that. And I should know this, but I don't at this point. Ryan, thank you very much for your comments. My last comment is this. We do have something to feel hopeful about at this club with the first team, the men's first team. There are other parts of the club that I'm very much a big fan of in what we're doing off the pitch. And I think that this club is so good with all of those things. There are some things that obviously we can fine tune and this owner can be much better on. Yes, the owner is not going to sell this season. So people like me who want the owner to move on are going to have to wait. But I will certainly say about the owner that he's done an excellent job in this transfer window. I'll repeat that and repeat it till the cows come home or don't. That this owner has done a very good job in the transfer market. And he's shown a real statement of intent. He's shown you his ambition. He wants playoffs. He wants promotion. He stated that. So he's been transparent about that. And his words have been backed up by actions, which some of us have been critical of in recent years with the owner. He's backing up his words with some action, for goodness sakes. And that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see from the owner. And I'm sure I'm not the only Watford fan in the world who feels that way, right? The man has actually backed up his words for once. And blimey, he's given us something to be hopeful about. And now it's up to the players, it's up to the manager, and it's up to us to get behind the lot of them, get behind the lads, get behind the owner. I mean, excuse me, the manager, and say thank you. At least I would say thank you to Gino for putting up this outfit that he's put out here. I'm not going to go get carried away, but I am going to say to Gino, you've done a good job here. Listen, again, I've told you a million times, I will criticize where it's warranted on a constructive and honest basis, and I will praise where it's warranted. And I'm not short of that. I am capable of doing both. And I'm actually at heart a very optimistic Watford supporter, but I'm also very honest in what I see. And if there's things that aren't going right, I'm going to talk about it. And if there's things that are going great, I'm going to talk about it. And the owner has done a blooming good job with this transfer market. I'll give him an A+ for the transfer market, for what Watford are, for where we are, for what the budget is, for what deals we can do and can't do. And for the fact that we've got all that sell-on money from João Pedro, who's going to be, I mean, João Pedro's stock is rising in it. I mean, that's one of the best deals we made and the best situations we had. João Pedro, we jettisoned him out. He went to Brighton, and then Brighton sold him on. We got the sell-on fee from that to Chelsea. And, of course, Chelsea now looking very good, and João Pedro's looking very good, and Watford looking very good. We got some nice chunk of change out of that. What was that, about £20 million we got out of that? Whatever it was. Wise investing from the owner. I'm telling you, yeah, you listen. You do not adjust your audio or your YouTube TV because the owner's done a good job here. And look, no matter what happens during this campaign that comes up, you cannot fault this transfer window. He got rid, by the way, of Antonio Tivic. That was a blooming disaster. We know about that. He got rid of him. Got rid of. I'm still forgetting the man's name. The Danish striker that we had. God, I guess that's a tribute to why I'm forgetting his name. I don't even remember him. He's gone, and I predicted he would not kick another football when he was loaned out the first time around. And, of course, adios to Mr. Sierralta, who's, I think, playing now in France or somewhere like that. I wish him all the best. I wish all these players all the best. I wish Daniel Batman all the best. Daniel Batman, I think, is 27 or 28 years old, Ryan, by the way. I didn't answer your question there on YouTube. I wish all these lads the best. I wish everyone at the club the very best this season. I really do. Let's get behind the lads, get behind this club. And again, thank you, Gino, for doing a really good bit of business here in this transfer market. We'll be talking about a whole lot of that throughout the season. Don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel, to subscribe on Substack at the following address, YOU ORNS, WFC and the number 1 you.substack.com. Lots of writing to come from there, so please stay with that, and let's do some live videos there and some interactive video on there as well. Of course, I'm on Instagram and on X at YOU ORNS WFC. An A+ from me for the transfer market. We will see what more happens, and we'll see in just under 48 hours what happens, as of course the kickoff for the season begins at the Valley this Saturday afternoon at 12:30 p.m. in South London. Watford take on Charlton at the Valley in the very first game of this EFL Sky Bet Championship season 2025-26. So exciting. Who will be the starting lineup? Who will it be? Oh my gosh. I will be writing about that as well, I think, in the next 24 hours or so. My goodness me. Thank you very much indeed for the Watford supporters. Always a pleasure. Thank you for your precious time. I know it's late in the United Kingdom and parts beyond. So I do want to thank you very much indeed for those of you who listened to this live for the last hour plus, because it's been an hour and a half since I've been doing this, or thereabouts, whatever it's been, hour and 15 minutes or whatever. Thank you so very much indeed for that. Stick with us for the entire season on X. I'll be doing post matches live on X here on the live spaces, and I'll also be on YouTube doing them as well, and also as well on Substack. I'm so excited about Substack, the video there, as well as the stories and writings that I will be doing. Thank you so very much. Of course, the podcast is still available as well. I will be regenerating that, because my goodness me, I've not done an episode since January, for God's sake. It has been that long. And I will be returning to the YOU ORNS podcast on Apple and Spotify and other podcasting platforms. We'll be doing some previewing there as well. I want to thank you everyone again, one and all, for your precious time on this Thursday night. It's always a pleasure, fellow Watford supporters, joining us all over the place. And let's have more of that throughout this entire season. And from me, Omar, here in sunny San Francisco, California, it's a very good night from him. No, good night from me and good night from him, or good night from all of us. Those of a certain age understand what I was trying to say there, but I did not do it correctly. Take care, everybody, and very good night to you all. And from me, Omar, here in San Francisco, be well, everybody, and have a good night. Take care of yourselves, and see you on Saturday.